Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Criterion Connection. I'm Wade.
And I'm Joe.
And we're here to talk about a Nicholas Roeg film from 1971 called Walkabout.
Yeah, it's his debut or like a big. It's one of his big early movies.
Yeah, it's number 10 Spine. Last time we did number 1 Spine. Now we're doing number 10 Spine.
Yep.
And it's a film about a girl. She's credited as girl.
Yeah. Don't forget about
boy. Yeah. Well, he's credited as white boy.
Yeah, because we also have
black boy.
Yeah.
Which is it's hard to really say like white boy, black boy, girl, and father.
Yeah.
There's father. Can't forget father.
I'm sure they won't.
No. This movie is. A lot of people love this film.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like these kind of films. Like a movie like Nomadland. Or these kind of wandering, discovering yourself films.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get down with.
Okay.
I never really could. Mm-hmm. It's not really this movie's fault. There's a lot of good things about the film. It's cinematography. Mm-hmm. You definitely feel like you're in the outback.
Mm-hmm.
And the characters are well developed and stuff like that. The little boy is just like annoying, but the sister's kind of like it's just kind of frustrated with him. But the little boy is kind of has a connection to the other little boy to where they can kind of communicate.
He ain't a little boy.
Yeah, not a little boy. The Aboriginal, indigenous person of that outback area.
Yeah.
Who was in a couple of Criterion films we did.
They're in a lot of really good movies.
Yeah.
This is David. I don't remember how to call him.
G.
I don't know what to call him because they had to change his name posthumously for the beliefs of the Aborigine peoples. But David, who's also, this is his big break.
Yes.
As in narrative film, he was apparently in a documentary prior, but this is his big break. Also was in a movie we reviewed, The Last Wave.
Yes.
He was also in Until the End of the World.
Yes.
Also in The Crocodile Dundee.
Oh, I've never seen The Crocodile Dundee. Spoiler here.
So, kind of a go-to guy for somebody portraying an Aborigine, person. And is great from jump.
Mm-hmm.
He's always putting in a great performance. But yeah,
it's kind of his show.
Kind of
most of the movie, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting film. So it's basically it's a survival tale for girl and white boy.
Yeah.
Who's played by Nicholas Roeg's son. But essentially they end up, and I don't want to give too much away because the beginning is kind of a wow moment. The very opening of the film. Because it starts out, you follow the father home. He's watching the kids.
They're in pool. They're in a lavish pool.
Yeah, it's like an apartment complex. It looked like.
It's definitely a good juxtaposition to where they immediately end up is in like the outback kind of desert area.
They do a picnic in the outback, and there's some things that don't really go right.
Nope.
And we end up having to survive out there without the ability or the tool set, the knowledge to do so. And even without that, girl and boy do a very good job, staying alive as long as they can, finding these little, like they end up finding an oasis to kind of live off of. But the Australian outback, not really known for being super hospitable.
This is why I always said I don't want to go to Australia. There's a lot of things that could kill you.
Yeah, and not even talking about animals, nature itself can. And it tries to with them until they come across an Aboriginal boy,
David, just say
David,
yeah,
who is on a titular walkabout, which, for those who aren't aware, is a kind of rite of passage.
like a pilgrimage.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, and you haven't seen Crocodile Dundee. They
the-
also talk about it there too.
The opening, the first shot is like it tells us about what Walkabout is.
Yeah, and they come across David, and he's on his walkabout and just kind of helps them out when they ask him, and they finally are able to communicate, because that's the big thing, is communication. He doesn't speak English, and they don't speak the Aboriginal language at all either. But the boy is able to communicate with him and, signal that, like, hey, we need water.
Yeah.
And he quickly goes and shows him how to get water. And they just kind of go along with him as he does his walkabout. And they just become kind of attached and really leaning on each other and caring for one another. And they become kind of this
codependency.
Codependency, but like a family unit for a while. And that's, I mean, the movie is not super plot heavy. It's that's your movie. And what happens during that walkabout, and like how that shapes the people that they become, is the kind of crux of the movie. And there's a lot of really beautiful shots, because Nicholas Roeg is great with that. There's a lot of these intercuts with like super close-ups on nature, and just kind of showing
Lizards.
what is out there, what they're dealing with, and really pounding home those desolation and like nature is kind of impressing upon them, and how they react to it. I really enjoyed the movie. It's not super plot heavy. There's not a lot of dialogue, but the performances are great, and just kind of like there's a lot of stuff that I really picked up on and really enjoyed about it.
I think it's well made. It's just these movies are just not my jam, and that's
it's fine.
And that's my brain tends to, during these wandering kind of movies.
Mm-hmm.
My brain tends to wander too and kind of lose interest a little bit.
I get you.
So that's where my dilemma is, but it's a well-crafted film. I can say it's well-crafted, it's well shot, well acted. The music's interesting too.
Yeah.
It's like weird, like
there's didgeridoo a lot in the beginning.
Yes.
But they morph it into other
and then
things.
It sounds like at some point it sounds like Windows notification sounds, like, or something like that. Like, I'm just like, what?
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of some of the music you hear in Last Wave.
Yes. Different director too.
Yeah, different director.
Yeah.
Both excellent directors.
Yeah. So that's a great way to describe it. Is encapsulate that little small part of their lives, especially very adolescence.
Yep.
The girl is probably,
she's in high school, like teenager.
16 maybe, and the boy's probably like 10 or 11.
Yep.
And David is probably 15, 16. I think they said there was 16 they go on this walkabout.
Yep.
So it's about adolescence and growing up and that transitional period that's always awkward.
Yeah, and it's
even more awkward when you're stuck in the outback against nature.
Yeah, this one's a little bit more traumatic.
Yeah.
And being forced to kind of grow up and deal with things in a way you weren't necessarily prepared to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That said, there is a trigger warning for this film.
And it's in the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily just a trigger warning. I think it's for necessarily the indigenous peoples down there.
For the general audience, the trigger warning of animals are killed.
There's that.
The animals are... David brutally kills a couple of them, just bashes a kangaroo over the head. It's really, trigger warning to some people. I know that's very sensitive to that. So go into the film knowing that there will be animals harmed. Not as bad as Cannibal Holocaust.
No.
Not as bad. It's more of like survival and not because they're terrible people.
Yeah, it's all survival based.
Yeah.
And just kind of there is a juxtaposition of that later towards the end of the movie where it's, you're dealing with the Aboriginal boy hunting and trying to help them survive, countered with other people who are hunting to hurt things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it is a bit of a trigger warning, and we should bring that up. There's also a trigger warning early on in the film for the catalyst of everything, for another person passing away. It happens a few times, I believe once or twice. So there is that, and the depictions of that for those who are coming in. But it doesn't feel gratuitous or unnecessary. It is, I think, important for the story being told.
Yeah, it's never like we're gonna shoehorn this into a film just to get like shock value. It all goes towards the plot and towards the movie. So just know that there's all that stuff. But with all that considered, would you recommend the film?
I would. I enjoyed the film a lot. I think it's a very well-made film. I think there's a lot of great performances, even so far as to say it's a great performance for minimalist kind of idea, because it's not a ton of dialogue. It's not...
The Outback had a great performance.
It's not overwrought with like plot. It's very much people surviving and interacting as they are.
I feel like that, like Naked and Afraid or Survivor or all that. It's kind of like that. Just like they're just surviving.
Yeah.
Except there's no they're backstabbing each other like Survivor would be or something.
Yeah, and I would recommend it because I think it's a very good movie, and I think it's a very interesting story being told. And I think it's worth people watching at least once.
I'd also recommend it. Even though it's not my jam, it's still well made, and I think people will enjoy it if they watch it. It's only an hour and 40 minutes. Breeze by. It's on the Criterion channel. It's on. You can rent it on Amazon and Apple and stuff like that. So it is available. Or you can just buy it on DVD. It's Spy Number 10.
Yeah.
But yeah, I recommend it. You recommend it. So we all recommend it. Let us know in the comments below what you think about Walkabout. Like, subscribe, share. Tell us how wrong we are, how wrong I am for not liking these type of movies, and how Nomadland is the greatest movie of all time or something.
I still need to see it, so I'm going to reserve judgment.
It's Francis McDermott wandering around. Anyway, so follow us on Instagram, Condish Productions. Make suggestions. We are heading towards Halloween time. We are heading towards the end of the year time.
We all know what that means.
Yes. Oh, Halloween, we actually have some fun little ideas on that one. But, we have the rest of the year, and we have next year, too. So let us know in the comments below what you think we should do next. So until next time, I'm Wade.
And I'm still Joe.
And we will see you later.